you're a returning book eater, and welcome if you're a new book eater. My name is Caroline and this is my YouTube show. So today I'm wrapping up my second week of August. August, wow. If I'm wrapping up August, this is really bad. No, I'm wrapping up my first real week of October, but second week into October. I'm losing time. I'm losing the days. I'm going cray. Oh my god. Honestly, I am so excited for Halloween and just like all the like spooky Spooktober looks and stuff. It's amazing. I had a lot of getting ready for Spooktober, my September ween and my winter ween videos, which I will post here or here. Not sure yet, but I'll post them. But yeah, so this week really was it was a big week, I would say. I did a lot this week. Just like with my life in general, it was just kind of really hectic. And you like, you know, it's nearly the end of the year, so you kind of want to get a lot in before the end of the year happens. So yeah, well, let me start off with this book here. I read this in a day. I love this book. So you might be like, Caroline, why do you have October written on your book? Because I'm a bit of a banana brain, and at the end of every month when I come to do my wrap up, I'm like, did I read that book this month or last month? And I get confused. So I thought I would like streamline and organize myself better by putting a little tag on it saying the month that I read it in, so that when I come to do my wrap up, it's just a bit more easier to remember, that kind of thing. So yeah, so basically let me go back to this Suddenly Royal. This gave me serious Princess Diary vibes. If you are a Princess Diary fan, I highly recommend this book. And it's actually a series. There is 2 other books in that series. So the next book is Recklessly Royal and the third book is Reluctantly Royal. The only downside to these is I think they're out of print. So this is from like 2012, this version, which is kind of a shame because it is a really great storyline, and it's annoying that it's a little pocket size, but what can you do? It's the words that we want. But yeah, so basically Samantha Rousseau is just like a normal average American girl. She is working on her master's of birds. She's really into birds, like owls and stuff. And so she's working on her master's, and then the Prince of Illyria comes with his aunt to open the new bird sanctuary. Then the aunt requests Samantha's presence, and there she finds out that actually she comes from a line of royalty from Illyria that had to vanish because there was someone killing the dukes and duchesses that weren't in the royal family. So to try and, I guess, streamline power. And so yeah, so basically she finds out she's royal. She went from being like dirt poor to paying her stepdad's medical bills to all of a sudden being royal. And so this book it's got a lot of chemistry between Samantha and Prince Alex, who is like actually going to be king. And so because Samantha's actually a princess, she's allowed to court Alex because, you know, royal bloodline and everything. Hey, I don't make the rules, I just know them. But so she moves to Illyria. She takes up her family's coat of arms, I would guess. Like, you know, she lives in the house and she learns she actually has to care for people, and it's really cool. It's really cool stuff. So I love the storyline. There was a bit, like some places that I was a bit like, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. Really, I just loved it because it was so much like Princess Diaries. Of course, like, you know, everyone's waiting for the day when a security guard from the royal family knocks on their door and says, actually, you're a long-lost princess. Or a long-lost duchess, really. I will take that too. But yeah, so basically that's just it just plays on that. It's really cute, fun. Probably would not recommend this for readers under the age of 16. It's a bit steamy. It's more than a bit steamy in some areas. So, yeah, if you know what I mean. I rated this 3 fuzzy lions for steaminess and for cuteness. And overall, I kind of gave it 3.5 stars. Just because there was some parts that I was like, flick, 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 flick. And there was other parts I was like, wow, this is really good. But for the most part, it was just chick lit. It was great chick lit. And I got the next 2 books to read, so I'm excited for those. And this week I also read Blunt Force, which I reviewed on my blog. I left a review for it. I was excited for this book because Linda LaPlante is such a force within the crime thriller category and genre. She runs a company called LaPlante Global, for Christ's sake, and they deal with like media contracts and yeah. So anyway, basically I was really excited for this. This book follows Detective Jane Tennyson, who so the backstory is the last 5 books have been kind of alluding to police corruption, and in the last book there was kind of a bit of police corruption, and Jane was demoted into this new task force, and so she investigates the murder of this showbiz agent. His name is Foxley, and so yeah, she's basically investigating the murder. And at the same time that she's investigating the murder, there's this corruption kind of happening within the police force in the background. But the issue is that there was just so many characters that were being investigated that it became boring, and the investigation itself was boring. You know, it just was so tedious. And when you're reading, I don't know about you, but when I read crime fiction, I kind of want it fast-paced. I want it to keep moving forward. I don't want to sit there and ask every single person who you're investigating the exact same questions. It just loses my interest. So that was what I kind of really struggled with. I put this book down 7 times, and it was almost a do not finish, or did not finish, a DNF, basically. It was a real struggle, and then it was kind of in the last kind of 100 pages that it really picked up, and it really frustrated me because I was like, you've added, like it seems like this book was writing in all these filler characters to make this book 450 pages when it could have actually just been 300 pages, you know? So I think that was most frustrating for me because I felt like you're wasting my time because you want to have a thicker book. And that's pretty harsh to say, I know, but it was just kind of, for me, very slow, and I just didn't like it. But the last 100 pages were fantastic. They were so poignant and they were so good. And she really, really brought out the emphasis on real world issues right now and things that are really important in the world. So basically, the guy, Foxley, the agent, was killed. And he was, the way that she worked out who did it, the breadcrumbs she left were phenomenal in some aspects. And the reason why he murdered Foxley, the murderer, I'm not going to say who, but the reason why the murderer murdered Foxley was because of honor and family honor and trying to restore that. This was an honor killing. So that for me was such an important topic to discuss and to have in a book. And it just, to describe my level of disappointment is an understatement, because not only did she then turn around and finish the book off being like, we can't find the girl, but so she ended it not being able to find the girl, not knowing whether she was dead or alive, and then it spoke about police corruption as if that was the most important aspect of the book. In my opinion and in my eyes, the most important aspect of the book was the murder. This is why you wrote this book, was a new murder. And the honor killing is the most important part of this book. So to have that kind of diminished for, there's police corruption within this sector, let's wait till the next novel to find out what happens. I was just kind of like, what? Like, why would you make it such an important topic if you were just going to bring it all back down to police corruption? Like, it just really, for me, it really, really ruins the book. After note kind of talking about how like police corruption, this was based off of a police corruption investigation that really happened, which is fine, but I just feel like you shouldn't have made such an important topic, the murder. Like an honor killing is a really important topic, and you shouldn't have made this book about an honor killing if you were going to always bring the focus back to police corruption. Like you could have just made it about like an estranged ex-wife or like a drug dealer or something like that, and then bring it back down to police corruption, because the police corruption is going to overshadow the murder. But to make it an honor killing and be overshadowed by police corruption, I just felt was so disappointing, and it just really was frustrating. So that was probably like the most disappointing thing I've experienced reading a book in a long time, and it just really left a really sad feeling within me, because for me, those kinds of things are really important to know about, to write about. Even though this stuff is fiction, it still has seeds of reality and truth planted within it that, yeah, sure, an outcome might not turn out like that, but the reality is some people do have that happen to them. And there are things like that happen every single day. You're just reading about it with fictional characters in a fictional outpost. But other than that, like this really happens. So to just diminish it like that, it just kind of made me feel like you're just diminishing all the people that actually die via honor killings, or that, you know, things happen to them because of the feeling of a family honor needs to be restored. So yeah, that was probably my little rant of the day. Yeah, it was pretty disappointing, to be honest with you. And so the last book I read this week was Blood and Honey. I think, to be honest with you, before reading this book, I was super excited because I loved Serpent and Dove. I felt like Serpent and Dove was just amazing. The first 50 pages were slow, but after that, I could not put this book down. And I was like, yay, I read Serpent and Dove literally 2 months before the second book was coming out, so I didn't have to wait a long time. It was all fresh in my mind. Then I got Blood and Honey, and I was just like, well, actually, to be honest with you, a lot of people got Blood and Honey before me, and they started posting their reviews, and I kind of saw a lot of people had mixed reviews. A lot of people were like, nah, I didn't like it, and then there were some people like, yeah, I loved it. So I was a bit like, eh. But I was so excited because I was like, no matter what everyone says, I loved the first book, so the second book's gonna kind of follow with that, right? Wrong. All those people, all those people were right. It was a quintessential second book in a series of a trilogy. It was, and when I say quintessential second book in a series of a trilogy, the second book in a trilogy is always going to be, let's gather ourselves before battle, and then the third book is the final battle. So what are usual things that happen within a second book? Someone dies, not a main-ish character is gonna die. You have gathering of allies, you have a challenge, you overcome it, you meet the giant evil that you are supposed to overcome. You're going to meet them, but you're not going to battle them, because the big battle is going to happen in the third book. So basically everything I just listed off happened within this book. A lot of people were like, oh, there's so many steamy scenes. I just wish Lou and Reed would not be so like into each other. And I read like 3, if that. It was like 2. Like the start of the book was kind of not even hot and heavy because they were in like a field. So it wasn't even like, you know, but people were making out like all they were doing was just like being intimate. That's all this book was about. And I've got to be honest, it wasn't. It was actually more about Lou and Reed fighting. And Lou was trying to get Reed to accept who he was, and Reed was trying to relive his past, indoctrinate what he'd been taught, stay true to himself, but he didn't realize that who he is now is his real self and not who he was before he met Lou. So that was just kind of a bit kind of grated on me. Not the fact that, you know, I didn't think it was teenager-ish, the dialogue or anything like that. It just felt like they were just always bickering and they were always fighting, and it just kind of really, you know, it's annoying to hear about people, to read people constantly fighting. But But yeah, so basically they journey to find allies within the wider magical community. So they go to Sin, which is Coco's tribe, the Blood Witches. They're her family. And so the Blood Witches are like, no, we won't help you. And they're like, yes, we'll help you. So then they help them. And then they keep going forward. And then they go, oh, let's go to the wolves. And the wolves, and then Reed's like, oh no, we can't go to the wolves because I killed the wolf, like the Alpha's son. And Blue's like, but we need the wolves. So they go to the wolves. And then they get the wolves on their side. And then they keep going forward. That was the book. They keep going forward, then they get the huntsman, like they meet the huntsman, they're like, huntsman, be on our side, and the huntsman are like, no dude, you're with witches, why would I want to be on your side? And they're like, no, but we're not, we like, there's a greater good, like, you know, we don't want to be with the witches. And then the huntsman are like, no, we're gonna kill you. And then they tell the huntsman their plan, and the huntsman's like, don't worry dude, we're gonna like stop you from entering into the city. So they do that, and then the gang manages to get into the city, and then it's like giant showdown, and Jean-Luc is like, oh my god, they took Celine. So then they go find Celine, then they find out the Blood Witches have double crossed them, and so then Coco's now been put under my control. Book ended. Oh, I forgot to mention someone died, but I'm not gonna say who because you need to read it. So, but that was the book. Basically, I summed up a 553 page book in 20 seconds of mockery. So, that is, I have just saved you guys like, what, 3 hours of it? No, longer. It took me longer than 3 hours to read this book. It took me about, like, if I'm being honest, 10 hours. So I'm like saving you guys 10 hours of reading this book. But yeah, so that was that book. I'd be interested to see what the next book is that comes out. And when it comes out. Just because I kind of feel like we're just kind of going... We'll see. So anyway, that is my week. I have wrapped you guys up. Three giant books this week. These two books together are 900 pages, so that's like insane. And this book was just like a cute little one. So yeah, that was my week. I hope you guys have had a great week, and maybe one of you guys or two of you guys have read any of the books that I have said this week. Let me know. Tell me in the comments down below. Do you like my do you agree with what I've said? Do you have different opinions? I don't know. You tell me. But I hope you guys have a great week.